acting like fools on our own land, don't even know that we're on our own land, and then mocking us at every turn, including the Mummers Parade in Philadelphia, city of brotherly love.
And they've added in sisterly affection.
Yeah, including the capacity of them in the late 1800s to transfer the legitimate Capitolium under treaty and constitution from the territories that you know as Shakamoxum to an area of man, hand of man, 10 square miles at the 7 hills that Polk gave to them to establish a throne for the Roman goddess Columbia, and have been ruling the world with war from the 7 hills of Rome, which you know is Washington District of Columbia. Don't pretend y'all don't know that.
There was a question, and I've seen it a couple of times, but the question, it's just come up a few times about whether or not we should be signing or writing in lowercase or
the capital principle is really the grammatical deliberate indication of unum sanctum ownership by putting in the written form the living in all capital letters, which is known as the man of straw or the straw man, etc. Which is why, as an example, if you look in an unabridged dictionary and you look at, as an example, let me show you, say more as an example.
I think what they're asking, though, just for clarification, whether it should be all lowercase.
Yeah. Listen. The real deal is understand what its function is.
Okay.
You understand? The function is a claim of a dead estate. You know, you must know what its function is.
Mm-hmm.
And when you agree to it or don't challenge it, if you get the point,
mm-hmm.
that's an implied acceptance of abandonment of a state. And of course, because they are vampires, recessive, that they are claiming it and therefore claiming it for own, etc. That is its function of the non-negere. And of course, you would not write your appellation in all capital letters because that would be an agreement that you are dead and they're claiming your estate. And this is also why they reclaim the estate under what you would call admiralty or maritime law or law of the seas or piracies, and the privateering of the foot soldiers for Rome, i.e., which would be the barristers, accredited registry of Fleet Street, England, of the Circle Church and the Chancery, and why all claimed estates are delegated in what you call ecclesiastical and chancery court of England. This is why the chancery operators of the bar operate all judicial platforms in the West, or what you call the judicial platform via Fleet Street, England. And this is, again, why they transferred the Capitolium to Washington, D.C. And of course, this is all of the estates, marriage certificates, and birth certificates. And most people just talk about the birth certificates. They don't talk about the marriage certificates, where they claim ownership of the womb and claim that the mothers, which is the gateway from heaven to earth of all forms of life, that she is an informer and transfers her offspring, her seed, to Rome as a sacrifice. And thus you are declared dead, and thus the straw or the legal fiction that they create that is not you, and then attach to it an estate, and then claim that all labor, all future hereditaments, corporal and incorporeal, from the dead is transferred to the popes of Rome and the bishopric of Rome, and thus symbolically they have snuffed the life or the oxygen or the Christ or the monad or the crown that energizes the nuclear monad light of the pineal gland in the head. And thus, even with the masking that they're doing now, is to reduce the oxygen flow, to slow down fifth-dimensional ascension that's happening. No matter what guise they put it on, that's what that's really about, to snuff the light of Christ, etc. The straw is the instrumentality or the bottomry instrument created by the bishoprics of Rome and executed by the members of the Circle Church and Chancery, which you know as the Bar Association, which are told of in the Bible and the Septuaginta as the Sadducees and the Pharisees, who have been robbing you and stealing the widow's pennies, who have been falsely representing you, denying your capacity through miseducation to present yourself, and they write it in all capital letters, which means the dead, etc. However, and this is to be understood or comprehended, it does not mean necessarily that in proper grammatication that the beginning of a projection of knowledge is given the capital or the emphasis of the first capital letter and then the small case, but it means all case capital. This is why all transference of contract where they're doing business or claiming right of trade, they will always put the appellation not as an appellation, but as a name, which means a corpse or a corporation, and they will put the name all capital letters. And so that is the argument in its absolute valid point of non-capitalization in order that you do not agree to be dead.
But if you initial cap and lowercase, that's fine.
That's not wrong.
That's not wrong. That's
all caps is what represents the dead.
Right.
So capitis nolo actually means don't put all caps. That's what it means. Because it represents the dead corporation by which the vampires extract the estate of the living. Thus, the ritual that they often use of eating a cracker as the body of Christ and then drinking wine as the blood, because they are cannibals and they are symbolically devouring Christ or your capacity to activate the pineal gland.
And they had the so-called church actually participating in their ritual unknowingly.
Well, the church is that. See,
well, I said the so-called. I'm saying the so-called because it's not. I'm talking about people. Communion would be each time people would do communion, you're acting out their ritual. You're keeping the vibration and the energy of their ritual.
It's important, and this is back to what's important, because it's important to recognize that they took over the church and contaminated it. They are not really the church.
Right.
They are imposters. Because the church actually means the astrological circle or the zodiac. It is the stars of the heavens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what they do is that they take that which is already existing and contaminate it. This is again why they sacrifice little children under the guise of there is, for those of you who are out there right now, do a little current research and you'll find that certain so-called U.S. government agencies have been knowingly ordering for years baby parts of aborted babies. And don't think that Roe versus Wade was put in place for them to care about women. They needed this source for both themselves, for organs, and for food, your offspring, including the stem of the brain that connects the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the superconscious mind operations, but in its organic form deals with the cranial, the heart, and the stomach for regeneration purposes. Don't you ever think it's for other than that or ever was.
I got an intuitive download that not only the parts that we know of that they take, they also take the
DNA.
the so-called the so-called fibroid tumors, because those are a lot of times you'll find the fetus that was in that fibroid. Those fibroids are babies that didn't completely develop, and they're also using them in their solutions. When they put everything together,
and for the makeup
and the makeup,
food,
yep,
makeup for so-called the hybrid wealthy women.
Fibroid is another surgery, harvesting.
Yeah, they use it also for salves as because remember, and this is particular the target, although it's many children, even some of their own, but mainly for as an example, Haiti, when they had this thing going on in Haiti, and they were so-called helping the children. Well, no, they were using them because they need the melanin in their brain stem. Also, because as the Earth went through the Futon belt, the sun is more effectively, by default, creating cancers for what you would call mutants who are operating on Earth, whose physicality doesn't exactly harmonize with what might be called the indigo or indigenous people, real heirs of the earth. And the sun is a purifier, so the sun is starting to kill off mutants. So as a protective sunscreen, they need your babies to make into solution, and don't think that that's far-fetched, because it's absolutely the truth. And they've been eating them too. Let's get over that. Aside from other things that they've been doing to them, including drawing their essence, and you might call it plasma. For real. So we have some uncomfortable things that are going to open up as far as revelation, that's going to prove to you that some of these beings are not your friends that have been governing you, that you've been wrongfully referring to wrongfully as quote unquote your government. Another reason why we're doing the super.
In other words, your controllers.
Yes, they've conquered you. However, the superconscious mind starts breaking the bubble. That's why they don't want you to go there. Like we were talking about earlier, Dr. Naima, how we get there. Just don't assume that we're just here because we're here in this condition, and understand that it is artificial constrictions that have been put in place, including old technology, advanced technology, to suppress us in our development. And we just have lost knowledge of the tech by which to break through. However, fifth dimensional energy that's brought in by Uranus, Jupiter, and Saturn line up, and Saturn and Uranus operatively ruling the Aquarian star system right now, is breaking up all of the institutions. Factually, we're talking about from the cosmic level, of all institutions that were created in the third dimensional realm, so they can't stand up anyway. So it's better that you know about the superconscious mind so that you can start using it right now and start, as you would say, saving yourselves. This is also why Drew Ali made mention of the higher planes of life and said, if I could just get you all thinking again, you save yourselves. Put your ego aside and start studying. Start researching for yourself. Don't accept what I'm saying. Make it your own.
Titi Asha asked me to share this. Her comment is that in Hindustan, they were burning straw, claiming there were dead bodies. There wasn't. The reporters or actors were given orders to say that it's all symbolic. The 99-year lease is up. The Ottoman Empire is back, but they need you dumb and entertained. Yes. So you lose out on reclaiming your empire.
Yes. And this is why you will see that reflected with the IRS lease of 99 years being terminated a couple years ago, which is also why Donald Trump, by virtue of dealing with the bankruptcy of their private foreign de facto corporation, pulled the IRS of the Circle Church and Chancery into the defunct U.S. Treasury to cause them to issue more of their bottomry instruments that they've been using to devour nations into the what would call the currency, not monetary, currency system of estate trade that caused them to go bankrupt in order to help in the process of dismantling the Piscean Age priesthood who have been the demons of the planet. That's a fact. So you need to understand why I told you a couple of years ago that Donald Trump is assigned. I'm not supporting Donald Trump. I'm just telling you they're battling over your estate.
Mr. T.
Yeah, well, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what that's about.
We don't want to trigger him.
And it's not just him. He's the face. But it's more, it's sort of like a lot of truths will not be accepted from the people coming from the direct heirs. So therefore, some things will be done via the hybrids. And like Prophet Nobuali said, I'm going to make the Europeans tell you the truth. Now that the middle class has been dissolved, they can't blame somebody else. Oh, the Mexicans are taking American jobs, and these foreigners from Nicaragua and Guatemala and from South America is crossing the border of America and stealing American. They can't play that game no more.
So Americans are coming into America.
Americans is just coming to other parts of their house. Thank you very much. Message to all. So you see, the hybrids are still fighting over our estate. And the Ottoman Empire is the last vestige of the Moorish Empire. And all of the agreements of operating at the Maghreb have been what you call, not only by virtue of the time cycle expired, but by virtue of violation of all treaties have been terminated. Therefore, the U.S. is broke because it wasn't their estate in the first place, and it isn't now. However, those of you who are direct heirs of the estate must come into this new order, not the new world order, but the order of the Christ age, morally and ethically armored to do justice. Thank you very much. And this is why one of the philosophical codes that the illustrious prophet Noble Ali left for us, why he said Jesus means justice. You must know that's not an etymological definition. That is a sociological, ethereal definition. Study that carefully.
Here's a question from Noble Teresa L. Will the superconscious mind, with the superconscious mind, is that how we will distinguish who has had the V? Because I can't help but wonder how that whole situation is going to play out.
This is where the Septuaginta and the Bible, which is actually Berber origin, expresses in the revealing of things, or in Revelation, where you will have within yourself, not from some outside extraneous point of information, but from your pineal and from your superconscious mind, the capacity to separate the wheat from the chaff. That's what that means. That means the activation of the superconscious mind. You'll need no outside guide, for the guide or the God or the government ordinance of divinity is within. And that's where you have the Trinity connection of the electrical system of the cranial brain, the heart brain, and the stomach gut brain. Cognitively operative, because it's in you. Thank you very much.
Here's a comment from Derwin Hunt. This is the reason we need you means you, Granshi, so desperately is because the true understanding is the study of words. Your knowledge of words is priceless. Thank you for your presence, and it's written presence like a gift.
Well, it is, you know, how the Septuagint says, every man, the time has come that every man, every woman, every child must confess their own and worship under their own vine and fig tree. That means the restoration or the reversion of your lost estate to be cognitely known, comprehended, understood, and overstood by you, not because someone else needs to tell you, because it's divinely your own, i.e., the meek shall inherit Midgard, earth. Thank you very much.
Someone asked a question if you were aware. I'll set Atlantis L. Are you aware of Russell J. Gold? And what is his role as it pertains to us Moors?
Present, because on the immediate, no.
He's
So
saying he's
present some information, some support footnotes.
Postmaster, he says.
Mark.
It's not Mark.
It's like that nature. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was had a conversation with a scholar earlier today, a very honored scholar, who is very, very knowledgeable about the true operations of civilization and culture on the land. And one of the things that she and I was discussing was the fact that many and much of the conversations who are coming from beings like them should actually be coming from Moors who allege themselves to be cognate of the estate issues that's operative at Midgard. There's another reason why we're talking about the intuit mind, because many of these people who should have been telling you these things decades ago and have breached their trust of their positions and then allowed, by certain circumstances, hybrid Europeans to speak things that they should have been speaking. I give credit to those who have been speaking up. However, they're not the direct heirs. I don't condemn them because their middle class has been dissolved by the dark priesthood, which is why many of them will start speaking up to tell the truth. Where were they before when they were killing off speakers like Il Malik, like Malcolm, and the 33-degree Mason who tried to make a recompense to his people named Martin Luther King, Michael. Yeah. Where were they then? Where were they when they were torturing Emmett Till? Where were they then when they assassinated Noble Drew Ali? Oh, now that the middle class has been dissolved, a lot of people are speaking up, aren't they? I don't condemn them. I appreciate that they're doing some of the work. But all of the motives are not necessarily because some of these people suddenly came to some moral position of comprehension, and now they want to tell the truth about the de facto platform of Kyklos, known as the Democratic Party, distinguished from the implied honor, but not really honor, of the Republican Party, and the distinctions of the Cotton Whigs and the Conscience Whigs, and the overthrow of the Republic that is derived from honor, honesty, confederation principles of fatwa coming from Muslim law, coming from Saba law, coming from Wudan, coming from the ancient Sabian Moors, the ancient Lemurians, Hittites, Canaanites, and Moabites, the true heirs. How about that? Why don't they talk about that? However, some of the unborn that are now born will be speaking up. I have no doubts of that. However, thanks for helping. Better late than never.
Question. Okay. Can you explain what's going on with Israel and Palestine at this time?
It's an interjection because the dark priest has been dismantled, and it has a lot to do from that of the ethereal plane being expressed on the corporal plane of operations on a smaller scale, kind of like demonstrated with the Kyklos order and the demon platform called the Democratic Party, operatively trying to overthrow the representative for interjection of correction represented by Donald J. Trump to correct a lot of the fallacies that has been taking place since 1861 and the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, with the demonstration of the overthrow of the republic that had to do with the last vestiges of Moorish power at North America, in truth, and setting up bottomly instrumentalities for the theft and the transference of the estates of the true Americans into the hands of the operant members of the British accredited registry on behalf of the fake Queen of England, to be delivered to the Bishopric of Rome under the Unum Sanctum operations and the doctrine of discovery, etc., which is the problems that we're having now. And so what you'll see the play acting out of them trying to get rid of Trump because he's interfered their operations. In other words, he didn't sell out. He's trying to help fix things. So you need to look at the real history to understand what's going on right now. Politically. Super conscious mind will help you in that area. You won't need to accept what I'm saying. You'll see it for yourself because your third eye will start opening up. Those who are not already on the path, because many of you are already on the path. Matter of fact, many of you are already on the path, or you wouldn't be here with us at the House of Reawakening Minds if that were not so. Also, others who are trolling because they were already aware. They were already aware, truthfully, of the direction that this platform was going into or onto, ascending. So they were already put in place even before we started, because they knew anyway.
The question. From Enigma Scorpio. Can you speak about women fibroids and hysterectomies? I just want to, before you go, I want to say this too. I'm not sure if he's on this on the call, on the chat. He may be, but I'm going to put up the banner for Dr. Botanica. Dr. Botanica wrote a book called Stealing a Woman's Treasure. And he knows, a lot. That's what he wrote about, all of the unnecessary hysterectomies and so forth that have been, performed on women, and largely a lot on our women. There are,
they were the first and main targets. That must be understood. So when you're talking, and in the future, we'll probably, if we can, and you remind me, Dr. Naila, that we want to do some political analysis of the Roe versus Wade colorable legislation, and it's real funky. But the real deal is that uterine fibroids is the natural, for the most part, is the manifest of the monad into the physical form outside of the spark of semen, meaning needing or not activated, or this is where an egg comes from fallopian tube, left or right, cycled with the moon, in harmony with nature, whereas the womb activates without the help of the male to generate or to bring life. Sometimes that is referred to as, quote unquote, the virgin birth. And the uterine fibroid is where, and this has much to do with both the intake of outside forces, i.e. improper food, stressful environment, etc., and other social operations, also state of mind of the woman, etc., whereas the activation of the champion seed, which that usually what it is, does not complete development and is locked on the wall of the womb. And it would be the Muslim, or what is known as the fetus or the Muslim undeveloped, because Muslim's not a belief system. Remember, it's the fetus. It's the muscles, the tissue, the bone, and hair structure of the manifest temple of man, soul of man temple for traveling in the physical plane that attaches to the wall of the uterus and the birth canal and does not fully formulate, but grows a little bit and then stops, having much to do with her energy, mental state, mental state, and is usually by virtue of the fact of her state of mind and that the womb is not activated totally divinely, and therefore it does not totally manifest. That's usually the source of the uterine fibroid. However, from the position of the dark priesthood, that is valuable substance.
Yeah.
Because it is the more pure form of the gateway operations manifest, and that is highly valued for its genetic substance, for real. And so they always try. That's another reason why the dark priesthood always steals the placenta even when babies are manifest through, because that's also important.
That's the birthday
genetics.
cake.
That's the planet also.
Yeah, and the
That's
birthday cake.
Yeah, birthday cake, and also because of the genetic material. And of course, they use it to also do genetic studies in eugenics so that they can create both viruses, poisons, toxins, and other weaponized material to attack the real heirs of Midgard to kill off people. That's used in those studies too, as well as still used. Most of the fibroids are used or stays in laboratory form. Some of the aborted babies are more used for the same purposes, but also still for food.
You know, I was thinking about,
and for cosmetics.
I was thinking about where I take Cat and Treasure to the groomer. He has hens, red hens. You know, I brought in some, and they lay eggs without the benefit of a rooster. But then there are some chickens that do have eggs that have been with a rooster, right?
Yeah.
So, but they make these with he has no rooster, and they lay maybe 3 or 4 dozen a week.
That's another thing that they don't want women, the hominidae, to know about themselves. And this is again why the priesthood often would always promote the psychology that the spirit realm has nothing to do with the physical. So just deal with the physical. There's a spirit realm itself. You seek to go there someday rather than recognize Hex Alpha or Ab, which is your pyramid up and your pyramid down in balance, known as Seal of Suleiman, or the emblem of the Moorish nation, which is actually yours, which is actually Saba, etc., and the relationship that that symbol has with the knowledge of the use or the application use of the Ankh or the womb in bringing champions to earth in order to assist humanity with a knowing, as opposed to just from the urge or the sex urge in the cycle of reproduction, which is limited.
I'm going to read this comment from Moorish Alignment in Spirit. Dr. G. Taj, we have to stop giving them credit for being the dark priesthood. They are the light workers, and we are the real dark lords for everything.
Well, the deal of it is everything that came from us, didn't it? Aren't you the mothers and fathers of civilization and the human family? Aren't they a reflection of the lower self? Aren't they the shadow of the lower self? Aren't you responsible? However, the execution of darkness on the earth and the evils on the earth, whether they came from you or not, are being exercised or executed through the hybrids. Deny that. You can't. I'm not accrediting anyone. I'm just telling the politics like it is.
Oh yeah.
Therefore, we must go back to that state of mind of our ancient mothers and fathers, mustn't we? And stop playing victim, mustn't we? Which is also implied, and I appreciate that.
Well, when you talk about playing victim, when you think in terms of everybody,
You know, it's this tradition.
The world is a stage, and everybody's playing the part that a role that you pick for each lifetime. And so sometimes you're the antagonist, other times you're the protagonist. You just forget.
Come here to play the part.
Right. And I love what Mother Kai says. She's like, we're here to play. She said, so don't be so serious because we're all playing. We're acting.
We're all playing parts.
Right.
But
you need to have knowledge of
but I'm adding this. As humanity ascends, is it not the duty of the adeptus to share the ancient knowledge in a more simple form that we can go through this journey with less suffering and thus not creating more karma so that the people don't have to keep going through these cycles?
Absolutely.
Because the lesson, meaning at what point are we going to start demonstrating that we're learning our lessons? That's my point.
Like I said, I love this definition of ascension. Is simply the shift in consciousness from duality to oneness. It is the quantum leap from the evolutional spiral of duality to that of oneness. And that's what we're talking about. We are one. So we don't recognize our oneness. So we are like cancer in the body that starts to kill other parts of the body. So
the negative spirits among us who have been feeding on us, etc. This goes beyond just the things that we have done. Meaning that, you know, it's sort of like Dr. Naila, where some of the hybriding that the ancient Moabites and Lemurians did in Central America, in the Yucatan as an example, that created what is known as the Roman, etc. I think a lot of times we're looking at the reality of Yaqub, Cushitis, Israel, and those operations, and the 12 women scientists. You know, because most people keep looking at Yaqub.
Did Yaqub and these 12 women scientists?
Father?
No question. Let me ask you this question: Did they come from above? This is the
issue. Many of the hybriding experiments that manifest the Roman, very few talk about the intersections of trade and communications with others off-world. That's always been with us. And this is where sometimes you hear in the ancient customs and myths about the 8-ball. The 8-ball is really symbolic of.
You talking about like in pool? Okay.
Oh yeah, but that's a game of spears. But the 8-ball come about with that other part of interjection into the hybrid that wasn't necessarily with all of us part of the known experiment.
Explain.
This is why Yaqub is also referred to as the father of the devil, because it's that interjection that is manifest that we've been dealing with. So meaning that part of the experiment was not part of the plan. The 8-ball part wasn't. Beyond the 7. I'll leave it at that. You're dealing with that. Don't act like you're not. Those of you who are addicts.
Circle 7.
I'm not excusing that. I'm just talking about it.
When you say beyond the 7, you're talking about
beyond the circle 7.
7, okay.
Because the 7 is our culture. The 7 is the 7 ruling planets in this particular solar system. But some came from outside and some deals were made. And not only then, but also as of late in 54, that the hybrids who were descendants of the experiments also made some deals that gave them some more powers. That's part of our problem now. Like for some of you know that, some don't. My particular interest is more in the area of getting our people thinking again and starting to take responsibility, because I already know that the codes of the energies is within us all. And all of you have a piece of it. And stop looking for sacrificial lambs. That's not where your redemption is coming from. It's going to come via, with us, at least on the corporal level, aided by the incorporeal level, via the supra-conscious mind as a tool. Thus, isonomy.
Isonomy.
Isonomy is that symbol that they refer to as Jesus' carpenter's tool. And you'll see the compass
And a square.
and the square.
Yeah.
And the compass and the square is symbolized in the very shape of hexalpha or ab, which is your pyramid up and your pyramid down. And it is also the principle by which we navigate both the land and the sea. Also from which is adopted the instrument you know as the sextant, which we navigate the waters, as well as the land. And this is where law comes from: land, air, and water. So the law is really divine, but we've gotten off it, haven't we? So when you're talking about the carpenter's tools of justice, and Jesus was a carpenter, it means more than what people think it means.
I thought it was interesting hearing the sister of the woman that channeled and said that, Jesus, the character one know as Jesus was
symbolic.
Was it? But she gave him real present as an extra terrestrial, what we would call an extraterrestrial.
I know.
Right.
I kind of know, but in fact, Jesus is more anthropomorphic, and in the sense that has been told to people, it wasn't a Jesus in the sense that they had been told.
I think she's more talking like the
story of the dynamics of the sun, the transits of the sun, a body of cycle of millennia of communications of outer and inner world, etc., and the nature of our organic ascension. However, there it's not exactly a single being, truthfully. But you can express it as multiple beings that have come and gone,
right? Like
or teachers, or what you would
call the Emerald Tablets, the various ones that have come.
That is also Jesus.
Yeah, they're all of them. Yeah,
they're recycled.
Right.
Not unlike they removed from the Bible, as an example, Fatima and Muhammad. People think it's just in the Quran. That was also in the Bible. That's why they don't show you the older Bibles. But it's not the way that people been presented with it. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And those of you who are really scholars will begin to find that. And a lot of that information will be revealed to you too. But it's sort of like some of these things that will be coming out are just for your information, because you will find that you're actually far past that. You know how like sometimes, Dr. Nalia, we will always tell people over the years, a lot of things that we're doing now we'll not be doing later. Right. But it's necessary for us to go through the exercise. But that's only to kind of like grease, as they would say, the machinery of the mind, or to get us rolling, so that when a lot of the ancient biological and mechanical tech or alchemy and technology is reintroduced in society, little at a time, that people can handle it responsibly. Truthfully, that's what's up. And the real deal is, now that the earth is going through the Futon belt, the dark priesthood is trying to use it for a negative. You get the whole point? Mm-hmm. But actually, it is also a liberating position. So wherever we are in our evolutionary scale of the mind, because man is mind, we can go negative or positive. We're sort of like at an axis point for the development of humanity. You can either evolve or become fodder.
And it's important to some that we stay distracted.
That we stay positive.
No, I'm talking about on the negative side. Yes. They want us to be distracted. So you know.
And also, that's why they spend so much time trying to devour us, if you get the point. Also, you know, with the nanobots and stuff that they've been doing with the chemtrails and through the food that the people call GMOs, etc. Also, you know, for those who really kind of know some of this stuff, you know, you can get some of it off you a little bit. Because remember, because when we think about the organs, right, we're usually thinking about, you know, the heart, you know, the lungs, the stomach, the intestines, the kidney, the liver, etc. And forget that the biggest organ is the skin. It's another reason why the dark priesthood have been doing chemtrails and putting bacteria and nanobots in it with technology that they had found out with back engineering in order to control or change the DNA in order to limit or constrict the evolutionary operations that's going to take place naturally anyway, but so that they can claim Midgard, claim the earth. For some of you, um, keep in mind that many of the grasses that are around with you that we feed to animals, you know, alfalfa and some of the other grasses, like dandelion, etc., can be put in your bath water when you soak in your bath water and use the ion the ion removing substances like in some laundry detergents, a little bit in your bath water with those grasses of alfalfa and dandelion, and that'll clear some of the those nanobots off. Clean the tub after you take it. Yeah, that's the truth. That'll help some who know and some who haven't studied. That'll help.
Is there any reversal for anybody who has, for some reason, because it was for their
internally, the nanobots
have taken that the V, or I like what Kevin Berenger calls it. They did the hokey pokey, and so now, is there anything to reverse that? I mean, there are people who most people. Before you answer, most people in the chat are conscious enough not to, but they have family, you know, kinfolk, you know, that loved ones, seniors that have been convinced.
There's a duality of operations going on with all of this. Don't look at it from an emotional perspective, but just look at it from a intuitive perspective. You know how the Bible says, if your right arm offend you, cut it off?
Yes.
What it means is don't let people put their spirit on you, and also don't take it too personal, the choices that people make. Because some will meet their demise because they believed in Rome and refused to give up Rome. So they trust Rome still when enough evidence has been put in place that they long ago, generations ago, should have been able to read Rome and stop agreeing with Rome. So some will suffer because they do. However, unless the being is willing to honestly begin to open up, meaning become open-minded, they'll say, because when they say the statement open-minded, that means starting to trust your gut brain. You will receive information because there's always been what you call counter or antidotes to undo some of the things that have been done to you internally. And the divine or the cosmic mother, or we refer to Allah, all universal law, will always bring beings here and give them keys to how to undo some of the things of the dark priesthood. So know that much too. And if you want to know, just want to know honestly and sincerely, it'll come to you anyway. You don't have, if you seek the truth will find you. Put it that way. Yes, yes, yes. There are remedies to undo. However, and that's not with a negative qualification, it's just the truth. You already know when you begin to tell openly some of the truths that they will start shutting down with expurgatorius, so that you will, in other words, they will attack anyone that starts trying to free humanity.
Yeah, I just got received information on something that does that, but it doesn't say that, and I wouldn't publicly even say anything about it because I don't want it to be shut down. But
however, yes, seek and you will find.
Yeah. So.
And those of you who are on the path, you already know you're on the path anyway. You're in the direction, so it's going to come to you anyway.
I mean, we get, we know, yeah, we know. But I'm saying, like, my son told me that my granddaughter took it, and she'll be 19 next year because to get a job at a hospital. So I was, but
yeah, hospice.
They don't pay attention.
Job at hospice.
Yeah. I mean,
again, this is why it says if right on what you mean, don't take it too personal.
Yeah, it can't.
Because every man, every woman, and child is responsible. Even children are responsible because you're talking to spirit man. You're not talking to the body. You're talking to spirit man. No one gets past this. No one. And know this, with all sincerely, humbly, we're only trying to help. We're not trying to judge. We're not trying to condemn. We're only sharing information. And particularly for those who have been artificially constricted from this knowledge to understand that and comprehend and overstand and understand that it's within, i.e., cranial brain, heart brain, stomach, gut brain, reactivated and connected cognitively, supraliminal, Christ degree. Understand also, the dismantlement is already in progress. There's still a lot of work to do, though. But don't get confident. Don't get arrogant. Don't be selfish.
Someone asked, can we drink dandelion tea? Would that help?
Absolutely.
It won't hurt.
That's one of your. Why do you think they've been killing it?
Calling it a weed.
It's one of your most potent and common, what you would call biological anti-blocking helps. That's why it grows on your lawn, in your yard, by the trees. And that's why they've been doing what they call rounding up anything that's good. That's why they call the chemical killer Roundup.
And it does a twofer. It not only kills it, it'll kill you.
And it kills the bees too.
And it can kill you.
The bees. So now we got another lesson, birds and bees, don't we? Both metaphysically as well as what? Agricultural. To feed humanity. Got it. If you think these demons ain't dark, you really underestimate them. And if you think that it's not necessary for you to know some of these things, you're still underestimating what's going on at Midgard.
I will also add, that thing that's running across the screen right now, just talking about the scanner, does have some faculties in it that help with the things that we're talking about without me. It will educate you.
Yes. So, we're all conscious of expurgatorius and prohibitorum. We are. And so we're encouraging you to take responsibility for yourselves, for your lives, particularly and proudly and honorably. I respect and give honor to the women that are taking a stand to protect their children. More power to you.
Most definitely. And I was with the sister, well, yeah, she was just on my show. And with Sister Abundance. Now her daughters are, I think, 19 and 25, maybe. Never had vaccinations, never had problems. Or maybe I should say V's. I mean, no, excuse me. In the eye, they call them immunizations, right? So a lot of things
the hokey pokey.
Yeah, the hokey pokey. A lot of things that we subjected ourselves to is because we were convinced that they were necessary. I'm going to say
going on them eugenics operations.
Right, but I'm going to say this, and I'm trying to figure out a way to say it because I don't want to cause any, disruption to the channel. But I'm just going to put this out there. Going forward, if one has taken the, I'm going to say the F shot, the seasonal F shot. You know what that is, and it starts with the F and ends with a U. If you've taken that, I really had a strong download, Grand Sheik, that going forward, they're going to put the other thing in
the
that.
Demon serum, called the demon serum.
Well, what I'm saying is for those who were reluctant to take the hokey pokey.
That is one of the marks of the beast.
It's going to be put in the flu shot.
That is one of the marks of the beast.
I don't get flu
Did
shots.
you notice that, like, when people look at the Septuaginta or the Bible, and it says people will not be allowed to buy or sell
without the mark,
or the number of the beast? You ever notice that they put a number
on their
to
patent it?
Yes. And it marks people. Did you notice that around the world, where every institution that was prior to these operations, with many people who by the year gave blood to certain organizations, you notice that they're phasing out all people and not accepting anyone who took the demon serum and not accepting their plasma. They are now incubators. Consider that, and consider why that if they're doing that, and there are many from that same order, that something's wrong and not good.
Bernard Taylor's given a lot of uses for dandelion. Got take the dandelion heads and fry it in tempura batter. Delicious. And he's got, I think, making a jelly and a couple of other things with it. Apparently, dandelion jelly, wine, and medicine, etc. I mean, what thing you can do? Look out. Normally, if you look right outside of where you domicile, you're going to see whatever so-called weed that is very healthy for you. And it's not a weed, but they're called a weed.
That's just to give it a negative. Because remember, anything that helps, they give a negative. Weed is not negative. But they will always give a negative, because remember, they not only don't want humanity to think for themselves, they also want to disconnect you from nature. And one of their operations, dedicatedly, is to counter nature. Keep that in mind. Don't get mad, get wise.
Hey, Taj and Dr. G, do you guys know or hear about our new currency, Lumi? I don't know.
Let's keep this in mind. You can give us notes and share, but keep in mind, currency is not money. Just keep that in mind.
Yep. Let me throw up my silver, y'all.
Credit now is not money. Currency is not money. Never confuse the two. And until you get back to the money, you have no honor trade. And all systems that are absent of the gold, silver, and copper, i.e., in harmony with the cosmos, are not going to work anyway. Although they'll be interjected temporarily to pacify people until you get back to truth.
What did Bitcoin do? Go all the way up to what close to 70 and drop down to 30 some, maybe it's
No, they just robbed the people.
Yeah.
Which we were telling them before. They just robbed them again.
I made 11 notes per ounce profit on my silver because all the stuff I bought at 23 is now 35. So, you know, get you some gold and some silver. Some silver you can afford.
Meanwhile, while you're at it, in relationship to their obligations of operation at the Maghrib under constitutional principle, read Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution for the United States, and then see if it says Bitcoin.
What's it say?
See if it says Bitcoin.
You can start your own bank with some silver if you have.
Of course, they don't want you to go there, do
but
they?
You can. Oh, but listen. Oh, I will say this: I updated the flash drive, and I'm sorry for anybody that got their flash drive before the 12th, before the 12th, but it's been updated again, and there is a lot of information. I want to thank Brother Yarad for updating his folder with a lot of valuable information, a lot. So I put about 12 or 15 more documents on there, and there's a lot. And I also put the trust stock on there.
Yeah, I might suggest to you as I'm thinking about it, truthfully, is that because as things unfold, it might just be better so that it doesn't create a problem for people, that you just simply make another flash drive and build on it so that it doesn't conflict.
Well, I've updated.
No, I'm just saying.
Well, the current flash drive now has more documents on it. I just did it because I just got the information.
I mean, that's good, but I'm just saying to you.
I'm probably getting to the end of the 16th because it's got close to going towards 800 documents.
And in that way, because we don't want to create obsolescence in the cycle of learning.
So you're like, just like if every time I get new information, I make a new flash drive.
No, not like that. No, I don't mean it that way. I mean, make a new flash drive and all new information, you keep building on that. Whereas that one will stay solid, sound, and it will be its legacy.
See right there under that that's the master with everything.
Oh, right.
That's it. I've done that.
And that's so that people won't feel, that they gotta buy the old information over again to get the new information.
Well,
no different than like new like say we're going to do the musings again, so that you don't do the first edition over again, but in addition do a second edition or a new book and then build up of that, and because that takes its own life,
right?
That has its own life.
Well, that one right there has everything.
Yeah, great, great. And
but we just want to, I'm appreciative of the ones who, like I said, who give us information to include. Yes. So what I've been doing is creating folders for whoever it came from, and creating a folder to put that out there.
With their accreditation.
And that's then we have one that's actually the House of Real Awakening Minds that I've compiled. Yeah. But I'm appreciative.
And that's appreciative for those of you who are taking the responsibility to help in the great missionary work of helping to uplift fallen humanity. And I'm appreciative of you, for
it started with just one folder, which was yours.
Yeah, but I'm appreciative of you making the many sacrifices that many don't know that I'm aware of to keep things going for the helping humanity. Because I see a lot of the struggles that they don't see. And it doesn't go without notice. I just want you to know that.
Well, thank you. You all don't know how it is when I'm trying to get Grand Sheik up to the office to go on camera, and he's still downstairs either talking to somebody or putting the last minute touches on something, and I'm going, we got 7 minutes before we go live. I need you up here on camera. But it's like I'm directed. But thank you.
Well, that's part of the stressful work you do too. Trying to get Taj, you gotta act right.
6 minutes.
Trying to get Taj, you gotta act right.
Absolutely.
Taj, guy. Come on, Taj, guy.
Someone says, "Do you get paid in gold or silver? Something you can hold? Caution, Bitcoin."
Remember,
Nothing
is paid in what you call the commercial trade in truth without gold or silver coin. The compensations that are made in other forms that represents people's gifts or labor is highly appreciated because it's more the love and the intent. And so there you would call it compensation. And we get compensated in many forms, including the fact that people are growing and helping. Even that is compensation.
Yeah, so, yeah. Well, when I put up here about silver with Quicksilver, you get physical silver. So,
remember, this is the old,
this is not in your hand.
Ancient and modern rule and honor and contract. Not in your hand, you don't have it.
That's right. You don't have it. Put this up for people asking about the flash drive.
And remember what I told you before, make sure it's very clear. But then you might make a fool.
Let me say this. Okay, to those of you who are purchasing the flash drive, this is where we have some things fall through the cracks. I prefer that you purchase it on PayPal because then you have a record and we have your address, and as soon as I make the envelope to ship it out, you got a tracking number.